Dear viewers, the last few weeks have made markets nervous. The US Israel and Iran conflict has reminded us again the energy vulnerability of India. When energy security is threatened, the impact is not just confined to macros or specific sectors, but percolates into everything: fuel prices, logistics, inflation, demand, raw material costs, supply chains, and so on. Even the neighborhood dosa stall quietly raises prices, or the labor migrates back. Amid this backdrop, something groundbreaking has happened on India's energy front. You see, India has been a dependent economy when it comes to its energy needs. We import crude, we import gas. Even in the nuclear energy, we import uranium as India does not have enough of it. So, for years, nuclear energy, despite being clean and scalable, has not played the role it could have. But the story takes a turn here. Recently, India's prototype fast breeder reactor or PFBR at Kalpakkam achieved what is called criticality. What it basically means is that the machine does not just consume fuel, but it also creates more of it while running. That is what a fast breeder reactor does. It sustains a self controlled chain reaction, and more importantly, it helps us move forward towards thorium as a fuel. You see, India may not have enough uranium, but it has one of the largest thorium reserves in the world. Now, scientific breakthroughs alone do not create opportunities, they need policy support, and here is where things get even more interesting. Today, nuclear energy contributes barely 3% to India's electricity. The plan is to take this to 25% by 2050. To get there, India is not just building bigger plants but also exploring something called small modular reactors or SMRs, the smaller and scalable nuclear units that can be deployed faster and more widely. For years, nuclear energy in India has largely been a government controlled space. Private companies stayed away not because of lack of interest, but because the risks were simply too high. One accident and the liability could be unlimited, wiping out years of profits. The new policy thinking is trying to change that by introducing a more practical liability framework and by allocating rupees 200 billion to promote investments in nuclear energy. In short, it is making this venture insurable and viable for private sector. That changes the game because when private capital enters, scale follows. Now let me bring this back to where it matters for you. Whenever a sector opens up like this, a full ecosystem begins to build around it. It's not just about power plants, it's about everything that goes into making them work: heavy engineering, specialized components, pumps, valves, cooling systems, and precision parts. The big players include NTPC, NPCIL, L&T, and BHEL. And then there are some smaller companies as well that are playing an important role in the nuclear ecosystem. Take Hindustan Construction Company, a century old name that has built a significant portion of India's nuclear infra. Management claims that over half of India's nuclear reactor buildings have their imprint. In a sector where experience matters, this kind of track record helps. Or consider MTAR Technologies, a relatively niche player but deeply embedded in high precision manufacturing across nuclear, aerospace, and defense. The company has a meaningful order book in the nuclear segment and a per reactor opportunity running into hundreds of crores. Then there is Walchand Nagar Industries, another old world engineering company attempting a new relevance. Its role in supplying critical reactor components from heat exchangers to core structures positions it within the heart of the nuclear value chain. The competitive landscape here is not crowded, but it is intense with names like BHEL, L&T, and SJEC in the mix. Then there are companies like Unimec Aerospace and Manufacturing working on precision subsystems that go into reactors. And finally, companies like KSB and Kirloskar Brothers that supply niche components for pumps, reactor coolant pumps, sodium pumps, and so on. It is important to step back here. Not every company mentioned will necessarily translate into opportunity or into shareholder returns. And this discussion does not imply any view on any of the stocks mentioned. That said, themes play an important role in long term gains, and nuclear energy is at a point where capital, intent, policy support, and technology are aligning. For India, this is not just about clean power but strategic energy independence. And these names could be driving India in that direction and are worthy to be on your watch list. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.